back to the Wanna Parlay podcast. I'm Lance Bell. Next to me is Jack Neuheisel. Jack, go ahead and tell the folks about the people who sponsor this beautiful podcast.
Well, if you're brand new to us here in 2025, the show is brought to you by the good people of Wanna Parlay, home of the $2 parlay and the world's richest parlay, where every day and every week people are turning $2 into $2,000. Seriously, if this is the first time you're with us, head over there right now and create the account. We're going to talk about it later in the show, but we got people who have just eclipsed 20 grand. We've got people eclipsing 10 grand, people making money all over the place. And good people of California, we've got players on the page who are going over the 20K mark in earnings. You've got 2 more weeks of college football, 1 more month of the NFL. Get over to Wanna now and get busy. It is the only place in the state of California where you can legally bet and win on spreads, money lines, and over-under bets. Just ask our boy Jack Martin, a proud USC student and the pride of Newport Beach. He just won $2,000 last week on a $2 investment doing just that. Wanna Parlay, people, home of the world's richest parlay. The first week of Wanna 2025 is off and cooking, Lance. Tons of special shout-outs to hand out. Let's start with the pick'ems as usual. Pick 7 this week has been a little sleepy. That's $777, people. I know it's 7 picks. I know it's hard to win, but golly, throw 10, 20 picks at that thing. 20 separate cards. Pick 5, who else but our boy Dialed Picks, DP, $250 more. It's truly appalling, truly amazing. Lance, next time we get him on the show, you got to do the math on how much money he's won, because I'm not going through 80 fucking cards again. You got to do that. The pick 4, R. Willis, who's no stranger to winning, was big early on. Good to see him back on the leaderboard. He's taking home $200. Parlay Royale, we've got some special news here. One Mad Raider, our guy David Smerling, he's been on the show. We love him dearly. He adds another $1,000 to his cachet there, Lance. DDS, the dentist himself, the One Mad Raider, sound the alarm. He just went over 10K earnings all time on the Wanna page. He's been in here early, but we got to start getting his purple jacket ready too, Lance. One Mad Raider starting to really make some waves. Congratulations, David. Way to go. And then the main event obviously is open right now. It's off rolling. We just called out our boy Jack Martin. But Jack Flexen, if you get a chance to look at that card, he won $2,000 last week. And this week it is very much up for grabs. Congratulations to M. Salaz11, who's leading the charge right now with 75.73. But people have been around enough of these things. That is very gettable. 2K is very much still up for grabs this weekend. We got some big-time games coming up. We might not be the guys to listen to, though, Lance, as we head to accountability hour. We did not do great. I will say we did get hosed on some of these picks. We'll start from the top. There's a lot of you just putting your faith in me, as I do to you in the NFL. So I appreciate you putting your faith in me. It was a bad closeout of 2024 and a bad early start to the 25. Boise State plus 11 versus gosh dang it, Penn State. We keep writing this down wrong in the notes. Dude, if we just have a better kicker, Boise State was hanging around in that game.
Yeah, 100%.
And am I nuts in saying it felt like that whistle was a little against us? I don't know if it just feels like that when you gamble on it.
And it wasn't even just that game. Also in the Texas-Arizona State game. I mean, I think the refs were a little biased in multiple games for the bigger teams.
Well, the Texas-Arizona State game has its own special place in hell in my mind, because we were up 24-8 with the ball with 6 minutes left to go in that game. We're going to cover that number easily. I'm sitting there just hoping for my over to still cash. I thought Texas might put on some bonus points. And all of a sudden, there goes Arizona State, and it was a completely different game. The last 6 minutes of that game. 4th and 13, my safety. What are you doing? What are you doing? You got one job. You're sitting there flat-footed covering nothing.
It was, I mean, Cam Scatabo, shout out him in that Arizona State game. I mean, the guy's a nut. He played his ass off. He did everything he could for the Sun Devils. I mean, good for him. But yeah, the Boise State, Penn State, I mean, that was tough. The kicker missing, I mean, that was brutal. And they go down, they get 7. And from then on, I mean, it's like they were there, but the score wasn't close enough to make it back into the game once that went down.
Yeah, Boise State Q gave us a chance because the O-line, I mean, that defensive front for Penn State's that good. They're legit. That's going to be a great game against Notre Dame. That's going to be a great game. And then you got smart here. You decided to bail on the Ducks. You saw the wave coming from Columbus, Ohio after that Tennessee game. I did not. I rode what my eyes had seen all year. I thought we were getting a replay of the game at Autzen. That game was 17-0 before you even got to your seats if you were getting beer in line. It was, I mean, whoa. So that sucked. Got to go to that game. It was awesome. I had all the intrigue in the world. Perfect day. And then just like before you could blink, the game was over. And then thank God we got right on Notre Dame. James Morris last week in the chat got me to flinch a little bit on this, but we hung tight, hung with Notre Dame. This line, by the way, Lance, another little trend to keep eyes on, and it's tough for us to do on the show, but something we got to update on the stories and on the Discord. This line was Notre Dame +1 going into the day before the game, and then by kickoff it was Notre Dame -1.5. When that line crosses the 0, when it switches the favorite from one side to another, I think it's a pretty good indicator Vegas is telling you that's the pick.
Yeah, no, I mean the Notre Dame game, that seemed like the easiest one, but what I'm starting to notice, I mean, and we'll notice it, we'll see what happens next year, but the first round bye was honestly hurt the teams because these are college players, these are not professionals. These guys need repetition, game speed, keep it going.
Well, dude, 100%. Like we've got issues here with the postseason. It was interesting. Like we go from conference championship week. We didn't have a spread more than one score, and we got some decent games out of those. Then we hit the playoffs. Every single home team blows it out. We didn't have one competitive game in the first week of the playoffs. Every single home team blew it out. And then we started hearing the Boo Birds from the SEC. We started hearing the Alabamas, the Ole Miss, and South Carolinas complain about how shitty SMU looked and the fact that ASU and Boise State were getting buys and la-di-da. But then since that's all happened, we thank God Tennessee gets smoked by Ohio State in that playoff too. So it's not all the SEC deal. But then, thank God Bama gets beat by Michigan in a bowl game yesterday. South Carolina gets beat by Illinois in kind of a hilarious game. And then, Ole Miss beats the shit out of Duke, and Lane Kiffin won't shut up about it. But that's
ACC ball, Jack. ACC ball has been getting dominated this bowl season. I mean, say what you will. And I don't have a problem with the teams that were selected for this playoffs. I have a problem with the structure, the layout, the fucking blueprint. That's the problem. We should have had in these top teams, like Ohio State should have been a bye. Notre Dame should have been a bye. And then move Arizona State and the conference winners, okay, they get home field in the first round. They don't get a bye. They're not good enough. So I don't have problems with the teams. I have problems with the structure and the blueprint.
When we wrote this little segment down, my big little note here was basically fuck the SEC, because everything that we have right now is being put together with duct tape. We have all this carryover from an old system. Meanwhile, we're trying to implement all these new policies into the thing. I mean, I'm watching that Duke Ole Miss game last night, and they wouldn't stop talking on the broadcast about how dumb the calendar is. The fact that the portal opened on December 6th, and here we are playing a game the month later, and we've got our third string quarterback for Duke, they're trying to play for their second 10-win season all time at Duke, and they're playing with their third string quarterback, their third string running back, tons of guys missing. And we're acting like, oh no, that's the Duke team of the 2024 season. Not at all. It's not at all. And where the SEC carries blame in this for me, Lance, is so clearly we've got massive problems. And in a 1-hour podcast, you and me can fix all of them. We can lay out and fix all of them right now. To get that accomplished, though, the people who hold all the power right now, who is the SEC and the Big Ten, have to make some concessions. They have to honestly be willing to break themselves apart and go into divisions and fizzle this thing out. Otherwise, we're going to continue to have this weird ass problem where we're holding up 8-4 schedules against this other 11-1 team. And then who's ever hotter in December, we just basically decide fact that's the case going forward. It was important to see a couple of those SEC teams get beat yesterday, because we were headed for a really disturbing trend going forward where college football needs shakeup. Calendar's the biggest problem. But all these things, none of it makes sense. What's the point of conference championship games right now? What's the point of them?
There's none.
It's just adding a bullshit game on the schedule. I'll tell you who's actually had the best slate going forward, and it might be a reason why they're playing their best football right now. Ohio State is the only team, Lance, that got to take a break from the championship games and then not get the bye in the following week, right? And then go and host that home game. Yeah. So they don't play in a championship game and then host the playoff game. So now they get the bye up front. They don't get the big window in the breaks where you're getting 20 days off like Oregon just had to deal with, right? And then they're coming off, and then they also have to travel for conference championship games. So They get a bye, host a home game, and then they go to the Rose Bowl going in hot. Oregon took 2 weeks off after having to travel to Indy.
It's brutal, Jack. It's brutal. And another thing I just want to say, Ohio State was the best pick for the national championship before these playoffs started. I mean, they look like the best team. I know they had, the fluke game against Michigan. The offense looked horrible. They've had multiple games this season where the offense looks horrible. But one thing that has never looked bad on this Ohio State team, and you've never questioned, is their defense. Their defense is so legit. That D-line is insane. You saw it against Gabriel. I mean, I don't know the kid's name. 91? I mean, that kid was just terrorizing through the tackles, too. Like through the inside. So, and
that's a plenty good O-line for Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've been the number one defense all year. I think they're holding teams to under 11 points. It might have been under 10 for a while. It was like 9.8. Mm-hmm. That score ends up being a 20-point game. I was in the building. We left early, and I'd never leave that game early. It was way bigger than a 20-point game.
And another thing, by the way, Jeremiah Smith is an absolute nut. He's insane. I don't have words for what type of athlete I'm witnessing right now. I
think I heard Ryan Russello say this too, where it's like, finally, maybe that Michigan game was the shakeup they needed just to realize, let's stop running this dumb fuck Big Ten offense and let's start getting the weapons, the ball on the outside. And all of a sudden now you've seen the game expand. Jeremiah or whatever his name is.
Jeremiah incredible. Smith. He's so good. I mean, it's like shout out Ryan Day, Kelly, Will Howard. Like shout out those guys. They bounced back. I mean, they were getting all the heat in the world. We were sitting here, Jack, saying this is Jason Day's way out. Like if he doesn't like
Ryan Day.
Oh, Ryan Day. My bad. Ryan Day's way out. If he doesn't win game, if he lost against Oregon, I think he would have been fired.
Yeah. Hey, fun fact: Jason Day does live and plays home golf in Columbus, Ohio. So not for nothing.
Hey, I wasn't far off. It was off, but I wasn't far off.
We can agree though, Lance. We need divisions, not conferences. Mm-hmm. The 18-team conferences are stupid when we're playing 8-game conference schedules. I want a Division I and a legit Division II right behind it with promotion and relegation. I think that's the answer for these great bowl games. Is start just playing promotion and relegation games. Those would be awesome. Now we actually are playing for something.
And then you gotta push back the transfer portal nonsense. I'm done with this shit. I'm done with the NIL and it's messing. It's like, dude, finish the goddamn season. You know the problem. Just fix it. It's not like we don't need to get in arguments and the conferences have to pick. Just fix it. Fix it.
Yeah. Portal opens on December 6th. We're going to play this national championship on January 21st. Do you realize by the time they play the national championship, the academic semester will start for most schools for the next year? So those kids won't even have the opportunity. There are third-string Georgia kids right now who have to, or not Georgia, third-string guys of Ohio State, any of these teams still playing, that have to make a decision. Do I want an opportunity to potentially play next year, or do I want this opportunity to not play in this game but get a national championship ring,
I mean, and at the end of the day, you should be making the decision about money. You should be doing what's best for you, in my opinion. I think if I'm a third string guy, I blow out, I go get paid. I go move on with my career. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. A national championship is something you can, like, it's so rare and it's an incredible achievement. But my God, it's a better achievement, $2 million signing bonus in my bank account. And now, I mean, that's always the bigger deal. And it's not, that's why you got to move the transfer portal back, because money is always king. That's why these conferences have so much say in what we do in college football, because they get all the money. They're the richest ones in college football. So
100%. And as I think about the beauty of like that break, this winter break where everyone really gets a good week and a half off of work, or at least gets to be home, even if you're exchanging emails and all that bullshit, college football needs to dominate December and needs to end basically right on New Year's Day. Like that Rose Bowl New Year's Day should have been the national championship day. Yeah. And we can do that. We can end the season by Thanksgiving and we can get rid of conference championship games and we can have an expanded playoff and promotion relegation games and do it all in the month of December. And then give these kids a freaking holiday. How about that? What a change of pace that would be.
It'd be insane. And then you'd also lead them into the break and be like, all right, now you have this window from January 2nd to January 20, whatever. You can transfer and make your decision.
When everyone's out of the weight room and everyone's off campus anyway. And the academic semesters are open, so you can transfer, get in schools, all that stuff can happen. Boom.
And that's all there is to be said. It's brutal. It's brutal. Yeah. But the one thing is college football is so damn good still. even
It's
with all the
so damn
chaos.
good.
I mean, everyone's got their eyes on the TV. So, I mean, I will say, I mean, I like a salute to the NCAA for expanding the playoff. But of course, there's work to do, but it's still entertaining. It's still good stuff.
Well, as we pointed out, Lance, we've just got 3 more games left of the college football season, really. I mean, we've got some bowl games coming up we'll talk about at the end of the show, but just 2 more weeks of college football to come. So we got to start thinking about some other leagues here. You and me are a couple of LA-based guys. We're a couple of Southern California men. The NBA, all of a sudden the Lakers are starting to look a little interesting to me. I'll be honest, I've watched probably a combined 6 quarters this entire year, but all of a sudden I'm intrigued by this Lakers team. They're currently 6th in the West. And they've looked pretty decent since this trade. Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton coming over. No more D'Lo. God bless you, D'Lo. I've hated you ever since the Nick Young drama. I wanted no piece of you back on this team. I wish you well, but God damn it, you were never going to be a successful Laker. That was the original sin. It could never be overcome. Lance, I went and took a look at some of the books here for what the Lakers could do, because I'm sitting here looking at them going, God, they're just one great guard short from being a damn good team going into the postseason. You got Dalton Connect, he's 23. Austin Reeves is 26. Max Christie's 21. Rui Hachimura is 26. Jared Vanderbilt 25. Jackson Hayes 24. That's some trade assets. That's some pieces you can move. And then as you look towards the postseason, JJ Redick taking on this position. All of a sudden, I talked myself into being a believer of JJ Redick here. Remember his playoff streak as a player, 13 times to the playoffs to start his career, got ruined by Zion and the Pelicans to end his career. Like Steve Kerr, and I hate that we compare white guys to white guys around here, but hear me out. Like Steve Kerr, a lot of success in a lot of different systems as a player. Journeyman player, but success everywhere. So different ways, understands the systems and how to basically mix and match different schemes and come up with your own kind of original shit. This opposed to like a Derek Fisher, who spent his entire career in one offense and then never really worked out as a coach. So I don't know, man. And then, did you see LeBron win for 38 last night against the Blazers?
Oh, yeah.
So LeBron is ageless. I'm getting ready to be on the Lakers again, dude.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about the Lakers. And you brought up these trade assets that they have. Guys I don't see them moving off of is the Connect, Reeves, and Christie, because those guys can play. Like, those guys are hoopers. Those guys are real, like, two of them are starters. And Connect still comes off the bench, but we'll see what happens down the stretch. But Rui Hachimura, I'm not a big fan. A lot of people are big fans, and I was a little bit in the past, but this guy's not good at defense. He's not a good defender. He lets people blow by him. His offense, I mean, if he has the mid-range going and can hit a couple open shots, maybe, but he's kind of just a liability on defense for his size. It's like, dude, you're a big guy. You're 6'7", 6'8". You got big arms, and you're just letting these dudes blow right by you. So Rui Hachimura, I'm not the biggest about. Jared Vanderbilt has been hurt for 2 years, so I don't even know what the hell to think about that guy. You got it, and Jackson Hayes, he's very limited. He's a backup center, but I don't see. Maybe if we can move him, we will. But a guy like Gabe Vincent is one we need. Like, he's someone we're gonna move. He'll be huge because using his contract, he's about that mid-level exception around like 10 million, and we can use him to go get Valanciunas over from the Wizards and with other draft picks. So that's the next. I think Valanciunas is the next LA Laker.
I would love me a Valanciunas. A center, a true 5, just so Dorian Finney-Smith can be an off-the-bench 6-man, and then we roll that small unit. Basically, the fourth quarter unit becomes what we're starting with right now, is AD at the 5. Would absolutely love it. Tons of those organizations, too, you look at it, where it's like, that's who we need, are these quality teams who are now clearly outside the playoff picture, who now need to go ahead and blow it up. That's the trade partner. And then I'll tell you what, though, Rui Hachimura, he's such a bizarre guy, because when he's good, he's great. And then we go play the Nuggets, and I fucking hate him because we ask him to switch on to Jokic, and he can't do shit. So yeah, he's a guy, though, I could see a team talking themselves into an off the bench kind of 18-point scorer. Think you're versatile with him and interesting, just a piece.
Or you just trade for him. I mean, he's still 26. He has a decent contract. You can eat someone off your books, and just, you're not a very good team. You got to have some players. It's just, trade them.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you went to like the Pelicans and they wanted to, they're trying to dump, because they're trying to blow up their operation now, and you could, use his contract to maybe get someone from there that's a useful piece or anywhere else around the league. But, Rui, he can play. It's just he's not a championship player. I promise you.
Yeah, I'll say this, though, and I'm sure Kevin Glywa in the chat's going to give us some shit here in a second. But I wrote these Lakers off basically since the Bronny James draft, where I was just like, okay, we're in that era now for the Lakers. It's going to be a couple years, and they're going to look radically different by the time they're competitive again. And now all of a sudden, with LeBron looking as good as he's looking, AD is engaged and appears to be healthy. When you got those guys are bona fide till top 10, top 15 players. Austin Reeves is a playmaker. JJ Redick can get us right. We're running system shit. We're running actual set pieces. It's not one of the few teams in the NBA actually doing it. And then they're a piece away in my mind. And then, yes, you got to get healthy. You got to get right. You brought up Jared Vanderbilt. I felt like I watched him play 2 weeks of the best defense of my life against the Warriors and Nuggets, and then I've ceased to hear about him ever again.
Yeah.
He's in street clothes since that day on. But I tell you what, Lance, I'm about ready to start betting on the Lakers, I think, here come February.
Dude, I'm telling you, you, me, and the people of LA, tail us, go get this action on Wanna Parlay. It's literally the only place in the state of California where you can legally bet and win on spreads, money lines, and over-unders. It's too good of a deal. Sign up for Wanna Parlay now. Come on. All right.
And that's the fucking action I'm looking for, Lance. I want spreads, money lines, and over-unders.
Yeah, I gotta be able to have everything. I want my hand in every cookie jar. Every cookie jar that's available.
If I'm creating narratives with these player props, they have to be rooted in some kind of context of money lines, spreads, and over-unders. Like I need that action, and Wanna Parlay is the only place giving it to us. God damn it!
I feel like an author. It's like I just write a story. I just write a book every time I make a parlay. It's just like here's from start to finish what's gonna happen. Do they ever work out? Usually not, but I'm a good storyteller.
Hey, they're working out for some people. Dial Picks is up over 20 grand right now.
True. Yeah. If you're on the app, go follow Dialed Picks, and he's the goat. He's the goat.
All right. Well, we just said we're moving on from college football officially. We're still going to be talking about it, obviously, but we got to start filling the thing. We are hitting the exciting time of the NFL slate. We're hitting the final week of the thing. Some bets I wanted to discuss with you, Lance. I know you're the NFL guy, so I'm just bringing this to you just for your review and judgment right now, okay? First bet to think about going into the final week here as the playoff picture starts to figure itself out. The Bengals conspiracy bet, okay? It has felt pretty hell-bent. I don't know if you watched that Bengals-Broncos game, but I sure as hell did. It's felt like a foregone conclusion that the NFL is going to do everything they can to get this Bengals team into the playoffs, and we're not going to waste this Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase freak show season. So here's the Bengals conspiracy bet. Bengals money line, they got the Steelers on the road. Chiefs money line, they got the Broncos. That's the big juicy one. Jets money line playing the Broncos.
Dolphins.
If you want to throw in and juice that thing up a little bit more, Jamar Chase is also chasing the Triple Crown, which should be the first time in a long time that's been paid off. The only thing that's even close, the only thing that someone could possibly catch him in, is in catches, which he currently leads Amon-Ra St. Brown by 8. You expect Amon-Ra to have a big game in that Vikings game. So maybe tack on Jamar's over 7.5 receptions here as well. And all that, if you do all that, that's $2 to win 62 and a whole lot more at Wanna Parlay. So I like that bet quite a bit. The Bengals conspiracy bet.
Yeah, the problem is, the Chiefs aren't starting anyone. The Jets, Dolphins, I guess Aaron Rodgers, he'd like to win his last game, I'd imagine. But the Chiefs going is so hard. Like, is Carson Wentz going to beat the Broncos that need the win? Maybe.
Games
it's
in
football.
I don't know, dude. The Chiefs fuck around and win. That's just what they do.
Literally. And if you think about it, the Chiefs, it could happen. It depends. I don't know. A lot of starters are going to be sitting, but it's football. You got to play the game.
So something I'm going to talk about here too are teams that need to win going into this week and teams that need to lose. Lance, there are 4 teams with 3 wins. There are 5 teams with 4 wins. We've got a lot of dog shit in the league right now. A ton of teams that think they need a different quarterback heading into next year, and the draft is bare. You want to have a shitty O-line. You really want to go draft Shador. You want to take Cam Ward? Maybe I can talk myself into that. But post that, you're going to draft Will Howard or fucking Kyle McCord. Or I mean, I don't see it.
I mean,
So
I
all of a
think.
sudden,
Oh, you go.
a
Keep going.
guy like I'm just saying, a guy like Carson Wentz tomorrow is playing for some money. Carson Wentz goes and throws 4 touchdown passes tomorrow. He could fuck around and find himself a job next year.
Actually, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think like if you're one of these top teams, I think you draft one of these stars in the draft. Go get a star, not the quarterbacks, and just like sign a Daniel Jones. Go get someone and just one more year. I get it. It's not going to be great, and your fans want better, but it's like Shedeur Sanders is not going to lead a bad O-line NFL team to more than 3 wins.
Just ain't happening.
It just ain't happening. Like if he's on the Giants with, basically a similar roster, he has neighbors, and I don't know. It just will look exactly the same. It's just, a Sanders at quarterback.
100%. Okay, other teams that need to win this weekend, Lance. Tampa -14 versus the Saints, and the Falcons -7.5 versus Carolina. Both need to win their division. If Tampa wins, obviously they're just in. Falcons need the loss and themselves to win, but both have to just take care of business. So if you're looking at teasers or anything right there, I would consider both those teams, taking the Falcons down to basically a 1.5 on Carolina. Baltimore -20 versus the Browns. They need to win their division. Browns and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I tell you what, DTR officially, Joe Bags, Lance, and I were having a debate on who the worst quarterback of all time is. And in the middle of the debate, DTR entered the chat and started to look like the fucking worst quarterback ever. So maybe I expect Lamar to be out after the first half, but another team to look out for on a teaser situation right there. And then Vikings +2.5 at the Lions, playing for that first seed. Both teams need to win it, but boy, I tell you, I feel like the Vikings want it more than the Lions going into that game, and I feel like they got good juice. I'm all over the Vikings going into Sunday. Lions, if you remember, won on a last-second field goal the first time these two teams played, and I feel like the Vikings have been kind of the forgotten team of the year that's going to fuck around and have 15 wins here. It's pretty crazy. Good for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, you said it. The Vikings. My whole thing, dude. The Lions are banged up. Their defense is banged up. And the Vikings aren't nearly as they're still healthy and they're still good. They're still winning games. So I also like Vikings. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Lions though.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like that's a big shocker. I mean, they're the two best teams, or two of the top 3 teams in the NFC. I still think the Eagles are really good. But
I will say the line is funny in that one. That's a funny line. I didn't expect the Vikings to be catching the full 2.5 right there. And maybe that's just purely on home field advantage. But this is one we're going to have to peek what the public's doing. Because if the line's going to hold up at 2.5 and everyone's going to bet the Vikings, maybe Vegas knows something and this one's Lions that day. But just something to know that they're playing for the 1 seed in that game. And then something to pay attention to. We got some teams that desperately need to lose on Sunday. So hear me out, Lance. This year, we just brought it up. 4 teams with 3 wins playing for the first overall pick. We got 5 teams with 4 wins, okay? So if you fuck around, if you're one of these 9 teams and you fuck around and win on Sunday, you could find yourself sliding 4, 5, 6 spots in the top 10 of the draft. That is a major value deal. And I know it's not a big quarterback draft, but we're talking about major prospects. And if you're a team like a Raiders, like a Bears, like a Tennessee, like a Giants, and you've got 20 issues, not just one, that draft pick being 2nd or 3rd rather than 8th or 9th, you're talking about 2 or 3 different players that you could get in on trading that pick on just value and skipping a year of rebuild here. So there are teams, I know these guys have a lot of pride and teams like to win, but holy shit, go look at some of those GMs, see which one of them have lost these games in the past, because there are some auto losses coming from this pack of 9 teams. They have to. One of your teams fuck around and win. The only team in this group I see winning are the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. Because the Jets, Aaron Rodgers and them, I mean, they're still playing. Because they probably want to win and screw over the organization because they know that they're on their way out. They're like, fuck it, let's go win.
There's not a single Jet in the building that knows for a fact they're going to be there next year.
No.
This is going to be a complete and total rebuild, set it on fire and rebuild from the ashes. I could see the Jets fucking around and trying to win that game. And I think they're playing Tyler Huntley. I don't know that Tua is back and healthy.
Oh, the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, then that's huge for the Bengals, and you just gotta hope Carson Wentz masterclass. I mean, that's
My masterclass. That's why I'm in on this Bengals conspiracy bet, dude.
dude,
That's plus
dude.
30 juice.
I
That's what
know
I'm saying.
that's real.
$10 wins you 300 on that game. A lot more I want to parlay. And then last deal, Lance, I want to cover with you quick. This last week, all these players have written into their contracts all these different stat incentives, right? So there's a ton of these. I implore the crowd to go up and look these up and pick out your favorites and games you're going to be betting, because they are interesting, including at times you get some shady, some cheap ass owners, maybe even going some unders on these guys too. But just stuff to pay attention to. So some ones I liked a lot that I thought were worth mentioning here. Mike Evans. Mike needs 5 catches and 85 yards to reach 70 catches, 1,000 yards, which would give him a $3 million bonus on Sunday. This would also keep his current streak of active 10 years of 1,000 yards every season alive. I would guarantee all that hits. Mike Evans' number ends up being like 95 or something, so there's a little bit of leeway on that. If you're going to go ahead and take it, maybe you can get a better line. But yeah, Mike Evans is getting himself $3 million on Sunday. Book it. Guarantee it.
Yeah, that's a guarantee. I agree with you. I mean, they're playing the Saints, who have they traded their best cornerback away that used to lock him down. That was a big thing. Marshawn Lattimore used to lock down Mike Evans, but he is not on that team anymore. So I think Mike Evans to the moon.
A relatively young franchise, the Bucs are, without question. This is Mr. Buck. Mike Evans is going to go down in history as the greatest Buccaneer of all time.
Yep, him and Levante David are the two on the both sides of the ball that I look at as like the team captain, if you will.
Yeah,
team captains.
Yeah. But even historically, right? Because you could throw like a Warren Sapp and Aaron Brooks, a couple Hall of Famers on that Levante David list. There is nobody.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Mike Evans is a freak of nature. This guy, all-time great. Deserves all the flowers. People. Yeah. He deserves everything. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Legend.
Another one to look out for. Geno Smith playing a Rams team that can literally not raise or lower their stock on Sunday, can make an extra $6 million. He gets $2 million for every career high stat he hits. Also gets $2 million for their 10th win. So the only ones that he could possibly hit here, if he wins, there's $2 million. 186 or more yards passing, there's another $2 million. And then if he stays higher than a 70% completion percentage, which right now he's right on the button of, so expect some conservative passing, but a lot of passing from Geno. Some check downs, a lot of completions, and we're going over 186 yards, and the Seahawks are winning that game.
Hey, I've always rooted for Geno Smith. I mean, the guy put his time in. He got humbled on the Jets, played it back up. Now he's here. Hey, go win your money, but you're not going to the playoffs, buddy. Rams house.
Yes, my favorite bet on your Lance, just because of how much juice you get. Okay, Kyler Murray's rushing number on Sunday is 31 yards rushing. Okay, just 31 yards rushing for Kyler. He needs 50 yards and a rushing touchdown to hit a $750,000 bonus.
Hammer.
Oh,
Hammer.
That's like a plus 250 bet, and then if you tack on the touchdown, make it like plus 1,000.
And they're playing a meaningless game, so he'll start and he'll go out there. He'll do it.
Yeah.
I like that one. That's a great one.
That's a good one to sneak on the card right there. And then this is one you got to wait till Sunday and make sure he's playing. But D-Hop needs one touchdown for a $500,000 bonus.
Interesting.
Kind of a weird day. Kind of a weird year. D-Hop signed the weird deal, not making as much money. Why not go make $500,000?
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, you would think, but then right now, DeAndre Hopkins has made a lot of money, and he's like, I just want the Super Bowl. I just want to be one of those guys that walks around. My hand looks a little different than yours. Like,
yeah.
So we'll see. But hey, I root for it.
Cortland Sutton, his number 71.5 yards receiving going into Sunday. Obviously, the Broncos need to win to go to the playoffs. He is 82 yards short of hitting a $500,000 bonus. I take Cortland's over on that bad boy.
Yeah, no, I love that one too. I mean, all of these, except for Hopkins is the scary one. You just got to see. But and if he plays, I would love it. But all of these, you have diamonds on the screen, Jack.
Yeah. Tony Pollard, his number 66.5 yards rushing. He needs 83 yards to hit a $250,000 bonus. He also needs 2 touchdowns for an additional $200,000. Maybe the Titans give him the rock. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in these like depressing seasons, I feel like why wouldn't you at least give someone a win?
80 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns nets out to over $1,000 or 1,000 multiplier juice. So I don't know, guys. That might be another one I slip out there. And then we're out of the incentive conversation now, Lance, but we had to talk about this if we're going to talk about the NFL. All of a sudden, dude, how excited are you for the Rams on this playoff march they're about to go?
I'm going to be honest, Jack. I don't think there's a team in the NFC that wants to line up against them. Why would you?
Dude, I went through their schedule. Okay, listen to this. I'll rattle through it. They took the Lions to overtime. Stafford threw for 317 yards in that game. Aiden Hutchinson was also still healthy and playing in that game. Okay, very different Lions team. They beat the Vikings by 10. The Vikings team has 2 losses on the entire year. They beat that Vikings team by 10. They just went undefeated through the month of December. It started with them beating the Bills, who only have 3 losses on the year. Since then, by the way, their defense has held teams to 9, 9, and 6 the last 3 weeks. Who's coming out of the NFC? I think it's the Rams.
Oh man, I mean, I would love for it to be the Rams. And I think the NFC and AFC, I mean, it's matchups, Jack. It's just matchups. Because if I don't think the Rams match up great against the Eagles. If we were to play because our D line is really good, young and active, but their O line is as good as it gets. So it would kind of counterbalance because our DBs. Oh, go ahead.
Can I paint a path for you?
Yeah, I want it.
Okay, so if we went to the playoffs today, the Rams are playing the Commanders, the Packers are playing the Eagles. Rams beat the Commanders on the road, and then the Packers play the Eagles for the second time this year. I don't know. I think the Packers actually match up pretty well against the Eagles, and the Eagles got them the first time. All of a sudden, the Packers win, and the Rams are getting the Packers. Guess what? The Rams played the Packers this year. Packers got them by 5. Again, really hard to beat a team twice. All of a sudden, the Packers are getting the winner of the Vikings-Lions and the goddamn NFC Championship.
You're giving me goosebumps, Jack. You're giving me goosebumps. I mean, if that's the path, no, and if the Packers and Eagles, I mean, that game in the beginning of the year, I mean, besides it being in Brazil and just like a slip and slide fest, remember that?
Yeah, Jordan Love got hurt in the third.
Yeah. So I'm like, I mean, the Packers can match. They're good. They're just like, they've been in a conference where the Vikings and Lions are the Lions get the most credit. Vikings get second, and it seems like Packers don't get much, but they're good. They're good.
They're damn. If you go through their losses too, they're damn good. Here's another question I have for just Rams speculation here. How would you rank the NFC quarterbacks that are going to go to the playoffs here? Assuming it's Baker, not Penix. Because here's how I have them. I go Matthew Stafford number 1.
He's the guy you can trust the most. He's who I trust most in the playoffs.
Playoff situation, we got to go win it. He's the only guy on this list with a Super Bowl. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
You got Stafford. I go Goff behind him. He's having a great year. And then very similarly, he's been to the playoffs a ton. And in these situations, you just like him to make good decisions. Jalen Hurts in a different year maybe is a little higher. But given who he's been this year, not as great of a passer, I think against a playoff defense, he's going to struggle. But given he's been to a Super Bowl and this is Darnold kind of on an off year, on a freak year, I gave him the edge. But honestly, debate to be had there. Now I'm throwing Baker behind Darnold because you just feel like you have to. But Baker's been good. And then I go Jordan Love and Jaden Daniels to close it out right there. Jordan Love obviously has a case, too, to be made that he could be higher. But my point being is Matthew Stafford versus any single one of these guys in a game, and I get the Rams defense holding teams to 9, 9, and 6. Rams house, baby.
Yeah. No, and Jack, I'm going to be honest. Like, I have Hurts last on this list. I watched him shit the bed against the Buccaneers in the last playoffs. That was horrible. He played 100%. And it's like now his team is so good. Saquon Barkley, the O-line, like I don't think he's gonna lose his team the games. But if there's one player that's gonna lose his team the game, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. And then Jaden Daniels below that. And I think honestly, what an overachievement from Jaden Daniels and the Commanders this year. But I think, honestly, it's going to be Rams minus 2.5 at the Commanders, and I'm going to take the Rams in that bet. And then the Rams are going to be getting points the rest of the way, and I'm going to have a hard time not taking them over and over again.
I mean, Rams house, dude, they fought like hell this year through the fucking trenches, like just banged up. Like the whole team looked hurt except for Stafford, like week 4. And
Banged
he's
up
just,
bad, finally getting healthy. The offense has been a little sleepy the last 3 weeks, but that's the one thing I'm not worried about. I get McVay, Stafford, and the receiving core back healthy for the playoffs.
yeah, no, Jack. I mean, I'm fired up for the Rams. I can't believe we pulled off the season I can't believe we pulled it off to the point where this game this week doesn't matter. I thought this week was going to just be like, sweating, standing. You can't sit down. You're standing face to face with the TV, freaking out. Now we're going to the playoffs, baby.
Clinched, and we will be betting on it. So people of LA, people of Southern California, people of the entire state of California, because obviously the 49ers and Raiders are going to be staying home this January. Tail us on this Rams action and go get this action on Wanna Parlay. It is literally the only place in the state of California where you can legally bet and win on spreads, money lines, and over-unders. Come get this Rams action with Lantz and I. We are all over this thing.
Yep, it's a great deal. I mean, Charger fans, Rams fans, Niner fans, anyone that's in California, it's the only place you can get these type of deals. So you got to sign up now. All right, let's get into the weekend picks.
Let's hit our weekend pick. So we got a little wait here before we get good college football. Next week, we'll be back on and talking about the playoff games and what's to come. So let's get rid of these last little shit games quick. This one's brutal. I feel bad for the fans of Minnesota and Virginia Tech. Getting Charlotte, North Carolina in early January is not my idea of a vacation. It's already at the point where people are going back to work. So you're tagging this extra cost onto what you already spent on the holidays. This is brutal. Having said, I'm going Minnesota -10. The ACC has been getting killed this entire deal. We're going to be playing in the cold there in Charlotte. Both defenses have been kind of their story the entire year. Minnesota looked great against Penn State, held a bunch of teams to just about nothing all year. And then likewise, Virginia Tech, their 6 wins come purely off the back of their defense. They were the one team to kind of hold Miami down all season. So under 42.5. I know those numbers don't quite agree with each other, taking a big spread and taking the under. So at the very least, you should net out. If you want the best bet on the board, I would parlay the Minnesota money line with the under and just get out with some good money. It's good to be good. And then as we hit Saturday, Lance, we got Liberty versus Buffalo in the Bahamas Bowl. This game is awesome. This game's all about fun. A bunch of people who would never otherwise go to the Bahamas, having a blast at the Bahamas. I'm going with Liberty because that's the more fun team of the two. Buffalo wants to ground and pound you. Liberty's having fun, throwing it all over the yard. I will say we do have our backup quarterback playing for Liberty. The starter transferred to Colorado. But the Buffalo kids have been partying. They've been in the casino all week there in Atlantis. This has been summer camp for Liberty. We're coming in with good juice. We're going to play well. I'm foregoing the points. I'm just taking them straight up at plus-135 money line.
Hey, that's good stuff right there. Liberty, the Bahamas Bowl. I mean, how many of these kids are in the transfer portal?
Quite a few. So I went and looked at the opt-outs and all this sort of stuff. It kind of nets out the big casualty to be aware of, which is why the spread is what it is the Liberty quarterback's obviously transferred. He's on the grounds at Colorado. So you're going in with the backup quarterback. But again, this is a vibes game. This is vibes. This is a vibes game.
Yeah. I know.
I
get it.
Fired my friend and their special teams coordinator after a great year of special teams. They're going to get a fucking punt blocked. Fuck them.
I'm hammering Liberty. After you just said that, we don't like Buffalo over here. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I know Liberty, plays decent brand of football, but I don't know much about these teams. So I'm just going to fucking blindly trust you. You're my eyes and ears. I love it. All right. I'll go into my Sunday picks. Ravens -20 versus Browns. Massive spread. Ravens need it for the division. Browns have a chance for the first pick. I mean, it's a massive spread. Lay the points. Trust it. We talked about it earlier this year. If you've been a part of this podcast, when the spread is massive, lay the points. Trust the team. Let's be great. Give me Ravens -20. Bengals -2.5 at Steelers. I'm just betting on Burrow, guys. He's the best passing quarterback in the league right now, and the Steelers have not looked good in these past few weeks. Really hope they don't do a classic Steelers and, grind one out and shock the world and fucking crush our dreams, but that's a possibility. So, but I'm still betting on Bengals. I'm betting on Burrow. Give me Bengals -2.5. Next, Vikings moneyline at Lions. I mean, we talked about it, Jack. The Vikings right now, I just think they're going to win. I don't know what it is. There's something in my bones that's screaming Vikings. I mean, the Lions are banged up, and they're doing everything they can to keep stringing out these wins. They got a shootout with the Niners that are like damn near rolling over. So we'll see what happens. Give me Vikings money line. Bucks minus 14 versus Saints. Just take the points. I mean, there's people playing for money in this game, and there's Bucks playing for the playoffs in this game. So big spread, lay the points, better team, and the Saints are just fucking miserable. So there you go. Next game, Packers minus 10 at Bears. Bears are just rolling over. They rolled over 4 weeks ago. Packers are a good team, and this one might be sketchy. I don't know if they're sitting or what they're doing with their starters. I honestly didn't check on this last one, but if everything goes how I imagine it goes, Packers minus 10. That's a lock.
Lance, I like everything on the board here. We talked about the Browns, DTR, and how bad they look. They got so many issues. That looked like the saddest team in the world last week, getting beat in the rain by the Dolphins. And the NFL, by the way, was doing everything they could to have the fucking Browns win that game. I have not seen one more calls go against a team because it was all part of the Bengals conspiracy. But yeah, Ravens minus 20. I dig it. Let's not overthink it. Bengals minus 2.5 of the Steelers. They did not come this far to then lose and give us no drama going into Sunday to watch the Dolphins and Broncos battle it out for the last spot in the AFC. Bengals are winning that so we can have some fun on Sunday. I love the take. We talked at length about the Vikings. I love it completely. I think they're the motivated group going into this thing. They're the hot team. I feel great about them. Bucks minus 14. We talked about Mike Evans's stuff. Baker's got some incentives on the line as well. And legit, they have to win this game to move on, as the Falcons are almost certainly going to beat the Panthers. So I expect this game to be won early going into halftime, having already covered this. So I would look at some first quarter, first half numbers as well. And then Packers minus 10 at the Bears. Bears are on that list of we need 20 things. They are not giving up this draft capital. They're going to trade that pick and get 5 guys that can make a difference, and so they don't have to suck again next year. So I like everything you're doing here on the board. Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, that about wraps it up here, Jack.
That does do it for the Wanna Parlay podcast this Friday, January 3rd. The show is brought to you by Wanna Parlay, home of the $2 parlay and the world's richest parlay, where every day, every week, people are turning $2 into $2,000 and walking out the door with it. We've talked about it at length on the show, but if you are listening to the show, or you even have just people that you know in California, get the word out. This is the only place, Wanna Parlay, where you can legally go bet and win money on spreads, over-unders, money lines, you name it, totals. Only place you can go bet and win money legally. And with a couple weeks left of college football, 1 more month of the NFL to go, and then a lot of good March Madness and all that stuff coming up. You want to have this account. You want to find the players. You want to get cooking. So get over to Wanna Parlay immediately and start playing. We went through the special shout-outs. Our guy Dial Picks, guys, is now over $20,000. He's done that in 2 months. Please go look at his account and tail everything he does. Truly appalling. R. Willis back on the leaderboard with the pick 4. Congrats to R. Willis taking on $200. One Mad Raider, second member of our Wanna Hall of Fame, David Smerling, adds another 1,000 and goes over 10K on his all-time list. Good to be good, Lance. One Mad Raider. We'll have him back on the show next week. And then the main event, guys, is wide open right now. Congrats to Jack Flexen. Check out his page. He won last week at $2,000. Currently, M. Salaz 11 is leading the charge at 75.73. We've seen enough of those. That number will get got. So go out there and chase it. Why not you? Go win that $2,000. And we will see you back here next Monday. It's been the Wanna Parlay podcast. It's been fun.
Yep, it's been an absolute pleasure. And we will see you guys Monday, 3 p.m. I know we messed it up again this week. The holidays is crazy, folks. Don't blame us. We'll be back on our regular schedule next week, and it'll be beautiful. And we can't wait to see you then. So thank you guys, and we'll be back Monday. See ya.